Hello and welcome back to Rebekah. I just wanted to check in because it's been a very exciting first week of Lovember. I want to see what people are reading. How is your progress going with your Lovember reading? Have you picked up any romance books this past week? Let me know in the comments down below. I have seen several people's videos so far. It seems like people are having a good time with it, and some people are beating me out even in terms of how many books they've read. So very exciting. I love seeing everybody's progress. So in terms of what I have read, I just wanted to catch up and share because I don't think I'm going to get through my 15 books, but I have gotten through a ton. So I just want to share and ramble about all the books I'm enjoying. So the first one I read was an ebook kind of short story, maybe a novelette. It's about 60 pages. And that is Fall Into You by Georgina Keirsten. And Georgina Keirsten writes as Ryan Fox as well. And I think they are definitely somebody I would like to read from more. Now, with a short story in romance, you're very much going to get kind of one of two formulas where either you have them leap into something steamy right away, and that's the whole story, is kind of a steamy, intimate encounter, or you have a progression that hits a certain beat. So this, I think, follows those progression beats where we're getting the meet cute and then kind of the initial quibbles about a romance, a date or two, an initial date, and then a hookup. And that's kind of the formula that happens here. And I enjoyed this one so much because it's set in a small town and that atmosphere really permeates through the story. So what we're following here is Amari, who is someone that used to be from Houston, has moved to a small town after leaving a man at the altar. So she has kind of a bad reputation that she wants to escape. And she also is facing a Thanksgiving where she has told her mom she's not coming home for the first time. And I think that was handled really well because we don't actually dive into that. I think that would be too big of a conversation to actually have for something that's 60 pages. But it is made clear that A, this is her decision, and B, that there is some toxicity there with her mom, that she has a good reason for doing it. It's not just on a whim. And so I don't think we ever got into like actual abuse, anything like that, but it is definitely alluded to that there's some judgment and definite toxic relationship there. So I thought that was handled really well, and to have that dropped in as well. We've got this character is kind of dealing with being a bisexual woman who has not been with a woman in quite a while, when at the Apple Festival, because of course, she runs into a woman who she hasn't seen since childhood. They were very close childhood friends. This does seem to be like a Latina character, and they don't really explore that. Again, there's not really enough time to get into very much of the characterization, but they do feel like distinct characters with these individual identities. So I thought that was well done. But of course, she runs the small town coffee shop. So we've got these cozy elements thrown in there, and you do really get a sense of the place. So I think once we get that established, it's clear they have some flirtation right off the bat, and of course decide to go on a date. That turns into something. And I think that was done so very well between the atmosphere and the characters, the coziness, even her cat Bramble, Amari's cat Bramble, really sold me on this. So I definitely enjoyed it and really do want to read more from Georgina Keirsten or Ryan Fox. So for my prompts on that one, I think that is counting for contemporary, and it's red on the cover, obviously. So I think that's all that counts for that one. The other thing that I read on ebook this week was another short, sort of, this is more novella length, and that is Mistlefoe by Kimberly Lemming, the second from the Mead Mishaps companion novels. Spoiler, I bought all of them after this. So so there are several short stories and another novel, and I am definitely diving into those because this is so fun. It's got great writing in terms of the actual dialogue. The banter is so good. The characters are really fleshed out. You can believe the characters are there. The relationship is great. The world building and the ideas behind the world building are fantastic. It's got this fully fleshed out fantasy world even though you're only seeing a slice of it. And it's goofy. It's just goofy fun. It's not like, it is cheesy. Admittedly, some stuff in here is cheesy, but it's not like bad cheesy. It's like the joy of this setting and the silliness of it is so well done. So in this one, we're following Ruby, who is the blacksmith's daughter, and the blacksmith has been cursed by a demon, and that curse manifests in all of the weapons that he makes being very sweary and dirty talking. So he cannot sell them. So that, like, it launches right in with the weapons all talking at him and him being frustrated. So of course, Ruby has to set out to break this curse. She takes one of the swords to confront this demon and explain to him what has gone on and why she needs the curse relieved. And so they make a bargain. The demon needs a fake date to this holiday party that is held by a dragon every year. And so she agrees grudgingly and takes the sword along, of course. And so the trio head to this holiday party, and it's not like a evening party. It's a prolonged vacation type party where everybody is invited and is going to stay with the dragon. So they of course are staying there as fake mates, and they have to make it believable. And this of course turns into being a real couple. So what I love about this so much, and I think this was true of the first book as well, is that she doesn't go for insta-love. She does insta-lust, and that turns into something more, and I think that is so believable. Like, I can buy people looking at each other and going, oh yeah, they're really hot, but this is nothing more than that, and then it turning into that, right? So that's really what happens, and you can see them internally slowly softening toward each other, and it's just so great. And I can get behind these characters because of how much you see them actually progress through that. So even though it's very short, the actual relationship progression is really there. So I just loved it. Everything about it was so fun and entertaining. It is very steamy, just like the first book. So this definitely has a high steam and graphic detail level, I would say. So I just found this to be a completely charming read that I now want to read every single other thing in this world because it's just so well written. So for the prompts on this one, I think we've got fantasy, we've got a forced proximity, and probably a hate to love for this one. So Mistlefoe was a definite win. In the print books that I read this week, I also really enjoyed If the Boot Fits by Rebekah Weatherspoon, the second in the Cowboys of California, and I enjoyed all the books I read this week. It was a great reading week. We had all fun reads. So this was kind of a Cinderella retelling because we are jumping in, starting with this character, Amanda, the morning after, basically. She is leaving from spending a night with Sam Pleasant, who is a famous celeb who has just won an Oscar, and she managed to get into the Oscar party in place of one of her friends because she is a personal assistant to a well-known celebrity. And she, as this kind of plus size Black woman, feels often underestimated or overlooked and didn't really think she would stand out there, but she managed to catch his eye and they spent the night together. However, she didn't even give him her name. So that's kind of the Cinderella element, is that he then thinks of her as Cha-Cha because she was dancing at the party, and that's kind of what made him notice her. And they can't stop thinking of each other as we are progressing through getting to know them as characters. They just keep coming back to wishing they had kind of gotten connected more until they do actually meet again, because the same celebrity friend is getting married, and it happens to be at Sam's family ranch. So of course they wind up in the same place again, where Amanda is, not in the wedding, but is kind of there for her friend. And so she, travels out to this ranch, and of course he ends up making a big deal out of it that now she's there and he has been thinking about her for all this time. He can kind of build a relationship with her maybe, or they can make it into something if they want to. And so he leaves it very much in her court. And of course, like, it wouldn't be a romance book if they didn't actually build it into something. So very trepidatious, but they build into kind of a relationship. But because he's a celebrity, there sort of has to be a secret. Not only that, I would say from the beginning, it put my hackles up a little bit that Amanda is keeping secrets from him, particularly about her job and who she works for, that sort of thing. And without getting too into spoilers, I will just say that it does cause drama. Like that's why it's there. It's clearly written, and you know from the beginning it's going to cause drama. But this is a positive spoiler because it's something I specifically look for. This does not have a third act breakup. So overall, other than that secret element, which does come up, they have great communication. They are in a very supportive relationship, and it's so cozy the way their relationship kind of works out because they're at his family ranch. Like, she gets to know him in a very comfortable, low stress environment for him, and his family are around, sort of. So she has this leap into that side of him over the star side of him. And I thought that was done really well. We also have a really good balance between that and the celebrity aspect, because we do see how social media affects their relationship. And that's a really important conversation handled with a lot of nuance here, I think, because they're having to have that talk about, well, you know, we maybe become a public commodity if we do decide to date. So I think that was handled really well. There are some heavier topics in this, I would say, that you kind of need to know going in. Because she's a plus size woman, I would definitely say that there are elements where another character has an eating disorder and kind of puts down her size. And it's not like full-on fat phobia, I would say, but it definitely is something that's used as a weapon against her, that she is overweight. And so I think you need to know going in that there definitely are elements of that, elements of eating disorder in this. There's also the aspect that both of these people have people with abusive tendencies in their lives, either physically or verbally. And that is on page a fair bit, especially in the back half of the book. So go in knowing there are some heavier themes. I think they were handled really, really well. And I just rooted for their relationship so much, because even though it has these moments of drama, it's such a cozy story. Like, they wind up in kind of a love bubble, but it's not one that's completely divorced from their reality. It's one that is connected with their reality. So yeah, I thought this was really, really enjoyable. So for the prompts on that one, I would say it is a contemporary and it has celebrity. I think that's it for prompts then. And then the final book that I read this week was one that I really enjoyed. It had a couple baffling moments. So that is A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. Again, I really enjoyed this one, so I would heartily recommend it, despite it being quite a thick book. The back copy, it tells us a lot more, I think, than the book initially does, and that's a little odd to start with. So Viola, our main character, is someone who was a soldier presumed dead at Waterloo, and that has enabled her to begin her life as a woman openly. So she now is the companion to her sister-in-law, effectively. So her brother has taken over the Lord title, and now she is kind of this companion, which is lower class, lower status, right? And Gracewood, the guy here, is her former best friend who is grieving the loss of his lifelong childhood best friend and can't get over it and has become a laudanum addict. So that we're jumping right in with something kind of heavy there, with him struggling with addiction and having completely lost hold. They receive a letter from his sister, Miranda, who's saying, I literally don't know what to do anymore. He has fallen off the deep end. And so Viola and her lady wind up going to kind of pull him out of this addicted laudanum haze, more or less. So through all of that, this element of her having been a soldier, her having started over and living openly as a woman, does not actually come up on the page. It doesn't come up until almost halfway through the book, I think, when she does finally address it with Gracewood. So I don't know if we were supposed to be kind of in the dark about that. I mean, there's enough like moments where it's referenced casually, but not specifically or alluded to, I guess. So yeah, I had a tough time reading what that was supposed to be for us as a reader. But I think it was fine. We all know what the synopsis is of this when we're picking it up, basically. So overall, the characters I enjoyed so much, and I did enjoy that for the majority of the book. We will get into the parts that weren't. The majority of the book is very proper Regency, and I really enjoyed that. It reminded me a little bit of Sense and Sensibility, actually, weirdly, because we're having this situation where Viola, because of how she was raised, obviously she was raised toward one gender role, she's kind of outspoken at times, and she doesn't have the proper behaviors and graces that are sort of expected. But because she is someone who now is in a role that is viewed as she's a lower status, lower class person and a woman, she kind of gets away with it by people underestimating her for being that lower class person. And in Sense and Sensibility, I think that comes up a lot, where because of being in high society, they're looked down on as being sort of country bumpkins and a lot of the time. And so people definitely look down on them in that situation, in that story. And so I think that play of the status and class comes up a lot here. So I think it's really interesting how that's done in terms of the interactions between her and these kind of higher class people. I really like that her being trans doesn't ever actually result in transphobia in this book. There is the fair warning of dead naming, but it's always in reference to this past person, people that don't know, talking about this dead person, basically. So it's never leveraged as an insult. It's never turned into a weapon against her. And I think that was really well done. It's definitely not a normalized world. So if you're going into this expecting like Bridgerton, where it's a very progressive style world, where it has been sort of fanciful, this is not that. It's not something that was out in the open, but people were living in the way that she is. People were finding ways to survive in society and have relationships, have love, have life. And that was a thing that was still happening at this time. Just because it wasn't popular or common or normalized doesn't mean it was not there. And this is about that finding a way within the world so that you can live as you want. And I think that was handled so well here. I think the relationship between the two was really wonderful. I did find it a little unbelievable that both, they seem to have never had any attraction for each other previously, and that it took so long for Gracewood to realize that this was his best friend. Those two things were a little suspension of disbelief, but I think they were fine. They were well done. The things that didn't work as well for me are that it went off the rails at the end. I think this could have been shortened up, because really it goes down this high action plot almost out of nowhere, and really goes to some places that are just strange, including a brothel. So I don't think it needed that. I think we could have kept it at the sort of proper Regency level and not gone into this wild action plot, and it would have been great. Particularly the epilogue and the way it ties up. It keeps kind of all the mundane stuff, and we have nothing about what went on with the action plot. And I loved the ending. I rarely am one for epilogues, but the epilogue here was just like chef's kiss. It was stunning. I really loved it. It felt so happy and warm, heartwarming. Yeah, so I really loved that. I would say, I kind of talked about the aspects of the fact that this doesn't have transphobia. My one warning for this is that it is very difficult and emotional to read, because being inside of Viola's head as she is going through this there's, again, not any, self-hate that's on the page, but there is internal introspective stuff that's really difficult. And it's so understated, I think, is why it's so difficult. So one of the things that I just wanted to read, like, it kept growing how much this affected me. It's just a couple lines. So she's thinking, after she has just showed up there and is seeing Gracewood for the first time. Oh God, this was a torment, wanting so terribly to be seen and terrified of what it might mean if she was. So again, very simple, very understated, but so effective, so powerful, what that's getting across of the position that she is in now. If she were to be found out, if she were herself with this person that she loves or has always loved as a friend at this point, but to try and have a relationship with him is completely off the table. And so she is struggling with that. And the internals here are done just so well, very introspective and really powerful. So I think this would be a pretty difficult read if that's something you're struggling with. But I thought it was so well done, so powerful to read. So definitely highly, highly enjoyed this one. The prompts for that one would be forced proximity and historical romance. And yeah, I'm very happy to have finally gotten to this one. This is a popular book from Alexis, and he seems to be just a very reliable author, writing really innovative and broadly queer stories. So I've read a self-pub from him before, and I'm really looking forward to getting to some more of his work. So great reading week. I'm knocking out some prompts. So yeah, I already have started a couple more things, including The Perks of Loving a Wallflower on audio. So good. I love Moira Quirk as an audio narrator. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I'm gonna have to find some more of her books and see it once I'm finished with that one, because I think that one's gonna fly by. Yeah, so let me know what you are reading. I am looking forward to the fact that the US has a holiday. I'm going to be spending the whole day reading, and then of course upcoming weekend, so we got multiple days of just loads of romance reading coming. So holler at me about how your Lovember's going if you're participating. Thank you so much for watching.